Well, there's been a major change at the Magic Kingdom in terms of rope dropping practices, given that Tron Lightcycle Run is no longer using a virtual queue, and is now using a standby queue. We're going to talk about this real quick in this article about the impact it can have on the parks. And maybe the reason behind doing this is one that Disney probably doesn't want to talk about. So we're going to discuss that a little bit here. So, hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And the article again from Blog Mickey says Tron Lightcycle Run opens traditional standby to 100+ minute wait times at Magic Kingdom. So the change is before Tron Lightcycle Run was part of the virtual queue. So you had to, at 7 a.m., you had to try and get a virtual queue. And then they called boarding groups to be able to ride it. If you didn't get a virtual queue, there was another drop at 1 p.m. that you could get. But if you didn't get a virtual queue, you couldn't stand in the standby line to ride this. Well, they changed it. They got rid of the virtual queue, and now it's just a standby, which means at rope drop, you can go directly over to Tron and get in line. Well, what happened for the most part, it was people at Magic Kingdom would rope drop Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So we saw immediately this morning that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train had like a 30-minute wait, and everyone had gone over to Tron. It had a 100+ minute wait. Again, this is the newest ride, the newest roller coaster at Disney, so it makes sense that people would want to ride it. But that's the gist of the change in terms of like rope dropping there. But we'll go in the article here. It says Tron Lightcycle Run has opened a traditional standby queue for the first time ever during normal park operations in Magic Kingdom, and it looks to be a popular rope drop option for many guests this morning. According to the My Disney Experience app, the attraction opened with a 45-minute wait, presumably from guests waiting during the early entry period, but quickly shot up to a 105-minute wait within 15 minutes of park opening. The wait time has moderated a bit, settling in at 70 minutes at 9:30. And then they got some breakdowns of the minutes there. But what's interesting is later in the day, Blog Mickey also shows 2 hours after park opening, Tron Lightcycle Run has dropped down to a very manageable 30-minute wait time. So going from 100 minutes to 30 minutes is it's interesting. Disney does inflate their wait times a bit. They try, and they've done this for a long period of time, where they try and, in my opinion, they used to push people around the parks a little bit more. So whether it was actually a 110-minute wait, I don't know. But the fact that it went down to 30 minutes shortly after that is interesting. I think what this really points to is Tron Lightcycle Run didn't have the demand for it to be a virtual queue. And I think that's why they dropped it. And in my opinion, I think less virtual queues are actually a good thing when it comes to wait times in the parks. Now, the reason that Disney and wants to do these is because instead of being in line, people can do other things. They can go ride other stuff, or they could go get food. They could go buy merchandise. They can do other things than just waiting in a line. But if you think about what's happened this morning, when you have a ride that normally has a high demand, if there's people in line there, then it makes the wait times for everything else in the area and other parts of the park be less wait as well. So the wait times will go down significantly when there's more people waiting in line. So long lines necessarily aren't a bad thing when it comes to wait times for everything else. High demand things, yeah, that's going to be the case. But there's also, I mean, Disney does sell, Lightning Lane. This would be for single pass, which you could purchase to ride this. But I think all in all, it'll be interesting to see how virtual queues are treated going forward, because they still have it for Tiana's Bay Adventure, but that's only in there because that ride never stays running, and it's not a reliable ride. So that's why they're continuing it there. And currently, Guardians of the Galaxy over in Epcot, that still has a virtual queue. It's a very popular ride, but it is interesting, the idea of not having these virtual queues, because I actually think that it makes the rest of the park run smoother. Because again, when you have a lot of people in this line, those people are not in other lines. Therefore, all of a sudden, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is all of a sudden a little bit more manageable in the morning. Probably other attractions, especially first thing in the morning, you're going to see lower wait times there. So I think it's actually a better thing. Personally speaking, I wouldn't mind seeing virtual queues just go away completely. It's one of those things where one of the biggest complaints you hear from people is when it came to Genie Plus, they had to wake up at 6 a.m. to do that. And then you had to have the 7 a.m. virtual queue, which you still have that on some attractions. So I think for a lot of people, in terms of being on a vacation and just enjoying your vacation, I think a lot more people would like it to be simpler and just say, okay, this is a popular ride. If you want to ride it, you're going to have to wait. And this is what you do, like say Universal. Hagrid's is a very popular ride. It is rare that you find that ride an hour-long wait. And if it is, that thing is going to get rushed with people back up to 70, 80, 90-minute wait. It's just a popular ride. But people understand that. They go, okay, if I want to ride this, I'm going to wait for this. And for the most part, again, it's a great ride. So people are not necessarily upset in doing that. So I think it creates a better park flow for that reason. And I think at the end of the day, it's a simpler vacation. And I think people would much rather wait in a line instead of doing this virtual queue. First off, you got to do it first thing in the morning. And I think people would rather take their chances on waiting in a line to ride something they want to ride versus the virtual queue method, which, yeah, if you're not technologically inclined, if you don't hit that button quick enough, you don't end up getting a virtual queue, and then you have a lot of disappointment. Versus you just go into the park and you say, hey, I'll take my chances here. We'll wait in line for an hour to ride this, or whatever the case may be. I think guest satisfaction wise, at least for me speaking, and most people that I've talked to, would rather that option or that be the case with a ride versus the virtual queue. I think, again, they run the virtual queue for Tiana's and other things when the ride, and they did it for Rise of Resistance when it's unreliable for a long period of time, and it kind of still is, but that one no longer is virtual queue. But I think all in all, I would much rather, I think it would be better to move away from the virtual queues because I don't think most of the rides warrant it. And I think guest satisfaction would rather have things be simpler. You already pre-purchased if they're going to do the multi-pass, Lightning multi-pass. They've already pre-purchased that. You can get those things set up, and then you just go wait in line. Or if you want to pay for it, you can. They have that option as well with the single pass. But I think it would make a better experience, personally speaking. But as of now, TRON Lightcycle Run is no longer in a virtual queue. And as it seems like now, even if you get to the park first thing in the morning and maybe you wait a couple hours, it won't be so long. Especially, I would say maybe toward nighttime, maybe before park closes, it could be even less. So we'll have to wait and see if that trend continues. It's obviously the first day of it, but it's an interesting little change there. And it does change the dynamics of Magic Kingdom at rope drop, because if you're going to have a lot of people going over there to TRON versus some of the other things in the park. So if you're not wanting to ride TRON, you probably have a much better selection in terms of low wait times if you're going to rope drop and get over there in the early entry part. So that's just some changes over there in Magic Kingdom, but that is going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Disney World, Universal Studios, Epic Universe, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about virtual queues? Do you like them? Do you not like them? And do you think Disney should get rid of them? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.